welcome everybody. Can you hear me? No? Yes. Well, welcome everybody here. Welcome all the Nash family and friends. And welcome all the Dean's family and friends. As we heard earlier, family and friends is really important to Sophie and Howard. It's important to all of us. So thank you all for coming from all over. So that's brilliant. This great location on the great weather as well. So hopefully we'll have a really enjoyable afternoon. But what's confusing Claire and I is how it's got to this stage so quickly. Sophie can't possibly be this grown up and getting married. It seems like only 5 minutes ago we were getting married. And we always had an idea that we would hopefully have a daughter. And for some reason, she was always going to be called Sophie. So it was a bit of a surprise when Toby arrived. But a lovely one, of course, I must say, a wonderful one. And then it became Sophie's turn. And it was exactly 2:00 on Saturday the 12th of June that she was born. And at that very moment, the south-facing windows of the maternity suite were filled with the sight and sounds of hurricanes and helicopters and the arrows, red arrows, flying past. It was incredible timing and an amazing start to her life that's carried on in much the same vein ever since. It took some organising, but I think it might have had something to do with the Queen's official birthday. And it was quite a stunning entry into the world. And Claire and I absolutely love this girl, and we're very proud of her, as you might get the impression coming from the next few minutes. And we love the positive impact that she has on everybody around her. And in Howard, she has found the perfect soulmate and rock star love match that we're so happy to welcome into our Nash family. And I'm sure that the Dean's family feel the same about Sophie. That a bit of a quiet pause there. Come on, guys. I was going to say that you're all here, and the wall of love in this room is testament to both of them. The children's upbringing was pretty idyllic for Claire and I, and hopefully for them too. Sophie and Toby never fought. never fought. She watched his every move and either copied it or knew not to. But more likely, she found her own way forward. She helped care for her niece Ellie, and I'm sure that shaped her caring, empathetic, loving approach to others and her move into occupational therapy at the university in Sheffield, where, by all accounts, she had a fantastic time, but somehow still managed to come out with a 2-1. To match Toby, and as in everything, outdo both Claire and I. After many happy early years in Ealing, we moved back to the family base at Neswick Farm in East Yorkshire, leaving London for the good life. And we got a pony, Scylla, for Sophie, a dirt bike for Toby. We got 3 hens, Olivia, Antonia and Isabel, named after the Peroni girls. But I think possibly the less said about that, the better, because they met a sticky end. We also got a completely bonkers Cocker Spaniel puppy and 6 ewes with lambs at foot. Chaos ensued. They from the garden into the kitchen, back out again. I think they all thought they were part of the family. The children also acquired an old car, which they regularly packed to the gunnels and drove off across the fields to go camping. And they even took the huge farm Rottweiler, Bruno, in the back seat, and children piled in all around him, which was a mixed blessing. John was very confused because he couldn't get that dog near a car since he took him to a vet as a puppy. And it maybe wasn't ideal because his snoring and burping and farting kept them awake all night. That's the dog, not John, I hasten to add. But John was brilliant. He took them under his wing, and tractor driving and bale stacking, and he got them jobs at the Bird's Eye Pea factory, and he whisked them out of that Nancy pony club into charging across the county on horseback everywhere. Indeed, Sophie's love of animals was something to behold, and right from the beginning. But her drawing of a pony, a pig, and a chicken, all with 4 legs, was confusing. Her love and exuberance for life and her competitive spirit, which you probably already know about Howard, saw her throw herself into school and sport, and she quickly rose to the first team well before sixth form at both netball and hockey, and on to county level, a bit like her Uncle Chris and cousin James before her. And as we heard earlier in the ceremony, she loves the great outdoors. And we may have had something to do with that, because we spent every holiday, as many holidays as we could, camping everywhere, all around England, Devon, Scotland, the Lake District, Europe. And it's a bit surprising, really, because we had so many disasters. But we'll come to that in a minute. We also went skiing and sailing whenever we could, and we went down to Cornwall every year. And there are friends from her whole life here who shared those holidays year after year with us. Everything we showed her, she has gone on and excelled at. Skiing, well, within seconds, she was roaring off down the mountain trying to keep up with Toby. Left us far behind, her arms out, a coat billowing, hooping and hollering. The only time we caught up with her, occasionally, when she was digging herself out of another snowdrift. Until the last time we went skiing with her, when we had to leave her out there. We had to come home without her. She'd only gone and got a job for the rest of the season on the spot. She's a master at taking opportunities in her life, seeing them and grabbing them. And in fact, to travel, we always knew that Sophie would travel far, because from the time she could walk, she was packing and unpacking baby toy suitcases and prams and bags and that car I mentioned, and to the extent that she insisted on packing herself when we went away to Warbleswick, a little cottage that was completely off the grid in Suffolk. It was a really cold winter's weekend. Claire had put the children into their pyjamas, into the car, slept on the route there. We put them into bed. The next morning, we got them up, opened the suitcase. It was beautifully packed. Beanie Babies. No clothes at all. Nothing. All Beanie Babies. You've got to have your Beanie Babies. Thankfully, we'd put some wellies and a coat in, but she spent the whole weekend in her pyjamas. But I think they've got it down to a fine art now, this packing and travelling round the world with one backpack each. And with Howard, they've gone on, as we've heard, to visit much of Asia, Central South America, spending hours together on buses, getting to remote islands and beaches. And if you don't know each other through all the thick and thins and the vagaries of that kind of travel, then you never will. So I think to have survived that, it's a very good grounding for your relationship. And they've had some amazing experiences, diving with sharks in the Philippines, kayaking with dolphins in New Zealand, canoeing and camping out of a dugout in the Amazon jungle, trekking up mountain passes and volcanoes. So it's been a fantastic time. And then they came home, ready to tackle the future together and settle down into normal day-to-day routines, only for COVID to throw a spanner in the works. Since when, they have been building their careers, and they had settled into a lovely home in Dorking with Finn the dog, until 2 or 3 weeks ago, when they moved into a complete wreck. Honestly, talk about pressure, doing all of that in the same month as planning for today. Claire and I have been taking sinks out of bathrooms and walls down, and we've been building signs for today. We've decorated a cake and a toilet. So I hope we've got them in the right order. But again, it's another example of Sophie spotting an opportunity and grabbing it. And I'm thinking it'll be a fantastic home when they've finished it. I mentioned Sophie's career a moment ago, and she visited Sarah's The Promise children's charity work in Russia, and she volunteered at some really tough orphanages in Sri Lanka. And this is all part of her journey here today and the work that she's doing when she started focusing on children with special needs in London. for which she seems to have a true gift. And she has risen quickly, been promoted, and she's already presenting to up to 200 teachers at a time with her charismatic enthusiasm and her drive, showing them the ways and thinking and different conventional to the norm. But to be honest, it's a bit of a surprise to Claire and I that she's made it this far. Because clearly we were totally unsuitable and untrained to be safe, responsible parents. We had so many disasters bringing them up. Camping, for example, I'm surprised she still loves it so much. We got snowed in June in Scotland. We were washed away in Italy, blown away in a storm in France. All four of us desperately holding on to the tent frame to keep it down when we realised they were metal poles and this was a lightning storm. Not a good idea. One year Claire, spilt Coca-Cola into the gearbox and all the electrics on our car, and we broke down for days en route across Europe. Another year, Claire, left the keys on the table in a restaurant in France, and our car was stolen with everything in it apart from what we were stood up in. Which was a bit of a one. Also, I'm in trouble. Again, I can't believe Sophie made it here. We talked about all the skiing somersaults. She was hospitalised through St. Trinian-style hockey. Scylla threw her off all over the county. Toby, who drove, when he was in the sixth form, drove Sophie to school, skidded off on all of the 16 or 17 different corners to the school at different times and always put her passenger side into the hedge bottom, much to her absolute annoyance. But I don't know why we gave him keys to a car, but we then allowed Sophie to drive herself to school when he went off to college. Well, having learned from a master, she totally flipped and wrote the car off enormously. So I think actually, Sophie, you still owe Toby a car.
You're all taking after you.
You did. But none of it worked. We tried losing her to market in France when she was about 5, and we hadn't noticed until a nice gendarme came and brought her back to us and asked her, "Is this yours?" But I think the best trick of all was probably when, as a teenager, we accidentally left her behind at a motorway service station. Howard, if you've not seen her angry face, that's the one. That was the one. Yet, somehow, despite all this flaky parenting, she has emerged as a kind, loving, empathetic, funny, thoughtful, vivacious, beautiful young woman with a wisdom beyond her years. And Howard, you are a very lucky man. Talking of Howard, selfishly speaking, the only good thing to come out of COVID was that Sophie came home with Howard for that first lockdown, and he had 101 days with us, and he even has a survivor's badge to prove it. He announced at the end that was longer than he would have expected to spend with us in years of normal weekend visits. So I'm not sure how much we'll be seeing him after this weekend. One of the things that was good also was that he did get a lot more comfortable up north. And one of the things that we learnt about each other was that we both lost our fathers when we were only 7, which was tough. And I have a most wonderful family memento treasure, which is a short voice recording of my father speaking at a cousin's wedding, Sheila and Nicky Melstrom. weirdly, it happens to be this very weekend, and it was 65 years ago in 1959, and they're still happily married just up the road near Guildford. But in this recording, my father says, and I looked it up today, they hadn't even opened a motorway. The M1 wasn't open until the November. So at that time, my father made a joke. I'm not saying it was a good one, but he said the only good thing to come out of the south was the A1 North. Apart, he says, from, on that occasion, the groom. So I cannot tell you, Howard, how much I'm excited to be able to say my father's same words and sentiments to you here today, because it applies to you as well. So finally, you'll be pleased to hear, finally we're getting there. For life advice, Claire and I thought about this for your marriage together. And we feel that it's important that you are kind to each other always, even when you're stressed and tired. And that you share your dreams, you support each other, you cherish your friendship, and you never forget the love that brought you together. Oh, yes, and Howard, she's always right. So, in a moment, I would like you all to stand, and I'd like you to raise your glasses to Mr. and Mrs. Sophie and Howard Deans, and their future together, making more adventures, maybe some with 2 legs and not 4. To Sophie and Howard, Sophie and Howard, Sophie and Howard. Thank you. So I will now pass the baton across to the groom.
I thought we'd done with the emotional bit, but that was... Well, wow, we're married, and we are husband and wife. I am a husband, which feels a bit weird. The last few weeks have completely been a whirlwind. As Tom's already alluded to, planning a wedding within 6 months. Also, moving house is not for the faint-hearted. And throw in there a dog that could be as big as a horse, and you've got a real exciting kind of few weeks to deal with. But this crazy few weeks has shown us so clearly how many people Sophie and I have in our lives. People who are instantly ready to support us, to inspire us, to advise us, to hug us, and feeling that love over the last few weeks, and today especially, is really, really, really incredible. I can't say how much that means to me and us together. So we couldn't be happier to have you all here today to celebrate with us and the start of our next adventure as husband and wife. We also couldn't be more grateful for the effort all of you have made to be here today. In fact, we've got people here from, where am I looking around? There's one table in particular that's got all the travellers. We've got people here from Ireland. We've got people here from Amsterdam, from Barcelona, from Utrecht, from Istanbul, from Dubai, and all the way from New York. Toby's helped us with the maths. That's 29,000 air miles. So we're not going to think about the carbon footprint, but that's at least once around the world as well. So that's a huge, huge effort from everyone here. Also, I've had the pleasure of meeting almost everyone before Sophie arrived. That was really, really nice. I know Sophie still has to say hi to a few people, but you all look amazing. Really, really, really amazing. Especially the bridesmaids. You look phenomenal. So quick round of applause for the bridesmaids. You look amazing. A lot of effort went into choosing those dresses. They all look absolutely on point. And then on to my parents-in-law. which is another thing I've never said before. Tom, Claire, thank you so much for raising an incredible, incredible woman. Go ahead. I'm going to keep it a little bit short, but Claire, you've helped Soph become such a strong woman. She has your passion, your drive, and your love of fine food. I see so much of Soph, and she's such a driving force behind her strength and her ability to achieve her dreams. It's really amazing. So thank you. Tom, you. Maybe we move on. You've given Sophie your endless practical optimism, and anyone knows you well knows that hopefully is spot on. Practical optimism, who you are, and that is so clear in Soph. There's many times where I've been freaking out or just said no to things, and Soph's like, no, this is how it works. And then I see you, and this is how it works. Yeah. Your zest for life, you're incredibly energetic, and your willingness to bend the rules if it means a little extra fun are all things that you've passed on to Soph. That makes things a lot of fun with Soph as well. It's a really, really an honour to have you both as parents-in-law. Mum, I can't say too much because thank you for being a constant source of love in my life. You are both a rock and a total rock star. I can't believe all the things that you're doing at the moment. You make me proud every day. So thank you as well. A few more. So thank you to the wedding party for the incredible setup that we had yesterday. We were running around like worker bees all over the place to make this place look amazing. We were running from the ceremony to the camping area to here, and everyone had all their own little responsibilities. That was amazing. So thank you for making it look incredible here. Rowena down here, thank you. The flowers are incredible, and this is all you're doing. So you really, really popped the flowers out, popped the colour out. It looks amazing. You even managed to match the napkins, which I think wasn't even a tie.
Completely coincidental.
Mum, for the months of planting and growing houseplants, if anyone's seen the spider plants, they are all created by Mum. If you want one, please take it at the end of the day, because we've got hundreds. They're everywhere. I don't want them all back. So if you want a house plant, it's in a little terracotta pot. Please, it's yours. Take it at the end of the day. Claire, I know everyone's going to appreciate the Neswick's Farm Sloe Gin. I made it at home. I know these guys already have. How was it? It was good. It was good. Bridesmaids, I've already said you look amazing, but thank you so much for Sophie's hen do. She came back absolutely gushing with love. It was amazing. So thank you for organising that. And my last one, Josh, John, Tom, Rory, Toby. What a team of young-ish men to have around me. A few more greys than we've had in a little while, but we're still there. Thank you especially for getting me back from mountain biking without any broken ribs or fingers, and sorry, Matt, for going through that. Now, thank you guys for listening to me. Over to my wonderful new wife.
I'm going to do a few more thank yous. So thank you to my mum and dad, not only for the incredible effort in helping us pull together this stunningly special day, particularly for the late nights over the last few weeks. I laugh, there have been quite a few. Drying confetti, building arches, and the truly endless list that you've put into today. So thank you. Thank you to my mum for making an absolutely beautiful wedding cake that you will see shortly. And to my dad for your lovely speech. I wrote that before knowing, so it was okay. It was a lovely speech. But I also want to thank you both for being the most incredible inspiration. You've shown me how I would like to lead my life, despite all the mishaps that you've just heard about. A life full of laughter, friendship, positivity, dedication, and an unbelievable amount of love for each other and for Toby and I. I'm so happy that today marks the joining of our families. You are wonderfully colourful, just like the flowers that you so lovingly grew and arranged in the room with Rowena for us today. So thank you. And of course, I couldn't say all these thank yous without thanking my beautiful Aunt Sarah. So Auntie Sarah, Auntie Sarah, who through my whole life has been a constant supporter and has always known the right thing to say. But today, your words couldn't have been more perfect. So thank you. We'd also like to thank all the bakers out there, because there's been quite a few bakers who have contributed to tasty treats that you'll enjoy at teas and coffees and things later. So thank you, everybody out there. You know who you are. Last bit. This beautiful wedding really wouldn't have been... Sorry, I'm going to start that one again. This beautiful wedding really has been such a team effort, and Howard and I are completely blown away by the love that has put this wedding together. Which brings me on to my bridesmaids. How lucky am I to have such a huge team of incredible women around me. Some of you I've known since nappies, sorry. But all of you I've actually known for more than a decade, which either makes us incredibly old or extremely lucky, but I think both. So thank you for your positive energy today and always. I'll now hand you back to my husband.
So obviously I couldn't stand up here without saying anything about Sophie, who is the woman of the day, and you look amazing. You're incredible. You've already heard how much you mean to me. I said in my vows that together I believe we can achieve anything, and I really, really, really mean that. You are, I've already heard from Tom, but you genuinely are a visionary. You made this day happen. You made this day a reality. You inspired our year away, traveling the world. And I know we're just scratching the surface of all the grand plans that we're going to achieve together. And I just can't wait. You're unashamedly you. And that means I can be me. I have never met anyone I can be so open and honest with. Whether it's deep emotional conversations that go on into the night, or admitting that, yes, that eye mask actually was quite cooling on my bag. So I didn't tell the guys, but I had one on this morning. More than anything, you make me feel like I'm the most important person in the world. You're loving, generous, kind, beautiful, hilarious, all of these words. But I'm really lucky that somehow you think I'm at least some of those things in return. You make me feel so loved and so secure, and I just can't wait for our lives together. So to finish that off, I'd like to call on you all to be upstanding, raise a glass, then I'd a little bit of a whoop as well for my new wife, Sophie, and our lives together. And now over to Josh.
Yeah. Thanks. That's going to be good.
Josh, they've been really good speeches.
I know, no pressure. Those speeches were very, very good. What's that? No yet? I'm too early. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time, and really, really enjoying today. It's been fantastic, and thank you all for the amazing speeches just then. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, are we all having a good time? Damn straight we are. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me or haven't met me, my name is Josh, and I have the privilege of being Howard's best man today. Now, as I was putting this speech together, I initially thought that this speech might be fairly tame, moderate, sensible, if you will. Because, as Howard would have most of you believe, he is indeed very sensible. From his classy suits, his corporate social impact role, and now getting married to Sophie, who looks beautiful this evening, from the outside in, one might assume that Howard is the model middle-class citizen. But, much like his inside-out, 4-day-old travelling socks, Howard is not entirely squeaky clean. Howard loves competition. In fact, Howard's competitive streak is truly something to behold, especially when he's up against someone he admires. So, imagine his delight 15 years ago on his first day of university, wandering around the halls looking for a friend. He met his hero, me. What followed was an epic rivalry that can only be described as a cross between a prank war and a game of one-upmanship tennis. The first volley came during one of our more childish nights in Southampton. It was 2 a.m, and I managed to convince Howard that snorting a mountain of pepper up his nose without tears would prove beyond a doubt that he was tougher than me. The betrayed look in his eyes, streaming with tears, mind you, as I refused to follow suit, and instead watched him bolt to the toilet, then returned to the kitchen and tried to cool his sinuses by squirting milk up his nose for the next 2 hours, will forever be one of my most cherished moments. And so the games began. 15 love. I then proceeded, some months later, to fill his room with plastic cups, which in turn were filled to the brim with water. It took 2 of us an hour to complete and included his bed, the shelves, his desk, and the entirety of his floor. When Howard returned, the words used as he attempted to try and empty the cups without spilling the contents all over his room, I would not dare utter here. Howard was very angry. 30 love. Now, Howard, never being one to shy away from a challenge, took 6 months to plot his revenge, where whilst I was doing a long shift at Christmas at the hospital, rescuing patients, doing God's work, Howard, with his accomplice Ray, took it upon themselves to wrap every single item in my room, including the floor, walls, ceiling, and even my bed, in newspaper. To add insult to injury, they stuffed confetti inside the ceiling paper so that when I tore it down, and rather symbolically, I had my own Christmas blizzard. It took me more than a week to clean up. Game on. 30-15. Of course, I couldn't let that slide, so I decided to return the favour by wrapping his entire room in cling film on his birthday. Another angry Howard. Another set of words I cannot use here. Howard, testament to his competitive spirit, responded by filling my room with 600 balloons and poisoning my pasta bake with vicious viper hot sauce. For those of you who don't know me, like a puppy, I get very excited at dinner time, and I hadn't eaten all day, and I do not like spicy food. I will never forget the wolfish grin on Howard's face as, with a mouth on fire and tears in my eyes, I scraped my beloved pasta into the bin. Juice. Beyond pranks, we've also challenged each other in more respectable fields, like sports and the arts, believe it or not. Some short-lived, like boxing, to some complete failures, like singing and learning to play the guitar in an attempt to improve our game with the ladies. In this, I must admit, Howard, who had then started his transition to becoming an under-the-radar hippie, had slightly more success. had slightly more success with his rendition of It's Business Time by Flight of the Conchords. Although I suspect this was more due to his growing collection of hemp bracelets and tie-dye t-shirts than any real musical talent. My own mother, on the other hand, when hearing my attempt at a rendition of Ronan Keating's When You Say Nothing at All, said, "Josh, you will achieve many things in life, but singing and playing the guitar are not one of them." Advantage, Howard. Recently, we ventured into the world of extreme sports, specifically downhill mountain biking, which, as you can imagine, led to some interesting moments on the stag do. We decided to take on Bike Park Wales. And in true Howard and Josh fashion, we didn't exactly ease into it. On the first run, with rain pouring down and visibility close to zero, we charged down the slopes like men on a mission, narrowly dodging trees and rocks as we raced down the slippery mountain. Our good friend Matthew, Matt, you around? Yeah, already got a mention tonight. Our good friend Matthew, being equally determined to keep up, bravely joined the fray. Matt, I can only apologise for the collateral damage. 2 broken ribs and a broken finger are tough souvenirs to take home to Clara. I think it's safe to say that Howard's competitive spirit is contagious and maybe just a little bit dangerous. Don't worry, Sophie, in the future we'll stick to much safer sports. And sensible sports, actually. Like base jumping. By the time we reached the final run, our hangovers were beginning to catch up with us. My legs and arms were shot, and ironically, so was my will to win. On a particularly dangerous corner, I front flipped over the handlebars and crashed straight into a bush. As I struggled to free myself from the shrubbery, Howard, who I suspect knew all along we were mountain biking, had been training for months to beat me, cruised round the corner, pretended to be concerned, and even stopped to lend a hand. He reached out his arm, and as I looked up, I could see that trademark wolfish grin on his face that said it all. Game, set, match. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. One of the greatest challenges in life is finding a partner. One who challenges you to be the best a man can be, to pick you up when you're down, to cheer you on when you're winning, to call you out when you're being an arse, to go on adventures with and build a life and future together that's full of great and happy memories. Whilst I lived with Howard and Sophie, joined them on their travels, and spent evenings playing some intense competitive board games, I couldn't help but notice that same wolfish grin on Sophie's face whenever she won. It was then that I knew that Howard had truly met his equal. Howard and Sophie, I can say categorically that you have both won the challenge of finding a partner, and you've chosen very, very well. The love, adventure, and fun you have together are clear for all of us to see, and it's been a privilege to know you, both together and separately, over the years. As you now embark on 2 of life's biggest challenges, marriage and building your dream house together, I have no doubt that you will approach them with the same commitment, teamwork, and the same attention that you've shown each other in the years so far. Sorry, careful attention, I want to mention. I must now hand over the task of pranking Howard to you, Sophie. And in gracefully accepting my defeat, please accept this jar full of pepper, should you ever wish to start it up again. Just remember, Sophie, if Howard suggests any date nights involving pasta bake or guitar, it's best to politely decline. So if you can all stand with me, please. Here's to the challenges ahead, the love you share, the amazing journey that lies before you. May your life together be full of love, laughter, and of course, a little healthy competition. To Howard and Sophie.